Hello, world. Welcome to Comic Book News. I'm your old pal. My name's Dan Shaheen. Oh boy. Today, it's the 4th installment of what has become, I'll just say it's my favorite recurring feature on the show, the Million Dollar Mailbox. Why is it my favorite? Manifold reasons. First and foremost, free comics. Who doesn't like free comics, right? What's the deal with the Million Dollar Mailbox? Let me just tell you right now. You want to see your comics reviewed? You make comics? You want to see somebody talk about them? Give you the truth? Like, you take them to your wife and she's like, oh, yes, dear, this is, oh, wonderful. You give it to your friends and family. They're like, oh, yeah, great stuff, dude. You want the real? You bring it to Dan and Larry. We'll tell you what's up. We'll give you our opinion. Tell you our interpretation of its commercial viability. How about that? Where do you send it? You send it right here to the Million Dollar Mailbox at Comic Book News, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. Beautiful Arcata, California, by the way. It is fantastically beautiful today. I spent the morning prepping for this show, reading comics on the beach, and not just any comic. Oh boy. I read something really cool, something you haven't read. How do I know? Because not many people have read it, if any of you folks watching. We're going to look at all the stuff that got sent to me for free, okay? And it's not just Joe Comic out there sending me in their zines and stuff. I've got stuff coming in from publishers, major publishers, my favorite major publishers. Like who, you say? Like Fantagraphics, I say. Eric Reynolds, co-publisher at Fantagraphics, associate publisher, I believe, had them send me a box of great stuff, some stuff that we'll look at today, including a couple hardcovers and a PDF of something really special, but you're going to have to wait. That's going to be the last thing we're going to look at today. The first thing we're going to look at is comics from people all over this good world, but really some close to home. Some people that I know personally, and also that live very close to our guest reviewer, legendary publisher, and raconteur. Let's bring him in right now. What did I call him I try to give him a different fake sci-fi title every time, and so this time I think I called him, what did I call him? Oh, Last Starfighter, Larry Young. Let's bring in Larry Young right now. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Dan, how are you? I was just fighting the Conan Armada, so as the Last Starfighter.
Oh, yeah. You just out Starfighter referenced me right there for a second.
I love that movie. Catherine Mary Stewart, the girl in that movie, and she's also a Knight of the Comet, some other stuff. I love her. She was She was in the 1980s. I was like, I'm going to movies to see her do stuff. The big hair. Really, she was great. She looked like your favorite babysitter when you almost didn't need a babysitter anymore. And you were like, wow, my babysitter's really cute. That's what Catherine Mary Stewart was to me.
Well, I didn't have babysitters, Larry. My parents just left me locked alone in
really? Just
full of comic books.
Yeah, just under the sink or something.
That's why I am what I am today. Trapped alone with nothing but comics. But but I got you, Larry. I'm not alone because I got you.
You always got me, man.
Cool, man. Well, I'm so glad that you agreed to do this. I knew you'd be the perfect guy to talk about comics. First, real quick, let's talk about Larry. We never talk about Larry.
I really appreciate you calling me a legend, man. That was awesome.
Well, maybe more like a myth. I don't know. Just kidding. No, what I mean by that is, you during a very special time in comics, you were sort of there as a big cheerleader for self-publishing, the graphic novel revolution as it began. You were one of those dudes that really advised people on a new way to self-publish. I would put you after Dave Sim. You're like that you learned some stuff maybe from Dave Sim.
I did, yeah.
And what did you learn, Larry? Tell us.
Well, Dave, I was a giant fan of Cerebus right away. I remember I started on 42, so I was there for a lot of it. Yeah, and so you just soak up the letters page vibe of Dave, and his main thing was just like, why aren't you doing this yourself? Like, no one is stopping you, and it just went into my brain. And he was great. I mean, because I sent a lot of letters to him on the letters page, and Dave would answer every one. And I think he still even now in my office somewhere, I have like 6 or 8 letters from him that sometimes is like 1 or 2 sentences, like just acknowledging your letter or saying that's a funny joke. And I have one that's like 4 pages long that we were talking about publishing and stuff. So yeah, awesome. Dave, man, people have something to say about that guy, but he was nothing but cool to me. And I just got a sealed, signed Diamondback deck.
Oh yeah?
Oh, cool.
Signed by Dave Sim from, I should mention it, from pal o' the show and publisher in his own right, William Hoffnecht, who publishes where is that thing? Hang on, I got it here. Who is a creator of the Make More Comics grant, an arts micro grant to support independent comics publishing. Go to makemorecomics.com, and he'll give you money to publish your comics.
Yeah, that's great. That's like the Zurich grant, right? Back in the day.
That's what he's inspired by.
Grant? Yeah. To that time in the early 80s to like right around the 1995 or so was just crazy good for people inspiring each other. It hadn't gotten so big that people started feeling like, oh, that $13 you spent on your book is $13 I didn't get. Like, that's what sort of soured me on the whole end. People started getting just crazy bitchy. But comics as a form, I love, and like anybody who is ready to do their thing, I'm ready to read their comic because they're doing the job, right? I mean, salute, right? It's hard work. It's hard work.
That's right. And I say we quit the gabbing and we jump right in.
Let's do it.
And look at some comics. But where, Larry? Where do we go?
Well, you were on the beach, and I live on the beach.
Correct.
So I don't know. Where do you want to go? Because I'll go to the beach right now.
I think you know where we go. We go to the Million Dollar Comics camp.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's do. But wait a minute. I'm not just gonna jump into the Million Dollar Comic camp. I got something brand new that I have yet to really debut for this purpose, for this show. And here it is.
Who's in the $1 Million Mailbox? One guess who? Who'd never ever start an argument? Who'd never show a bit of temperament? Who's never wrong but always right? Who'd never dream of starting a fight? Who's on your screen with the comic book scene? No one but Dan Shaheen.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's amazing.
$1 Million Mailbox theme song. I've got to give thanks to, it's in the credits every time. Now the Donald Duck the Gypsy Jazz Donald Duck musical theme song, but then I added Romanian singer from Fiverr. I'm reaching out across the world for cheap and free things and putting them together for you good people. All right, let's take a look at what we got. Speaking of free and cheap things, which I am a cheap thing anyway. Let's look at what we got. Okay, we're gonna look at Fantagraphics books in a minute. We're gonna look at Cloven Book 1 and Mickey All Stars, which is just, this is a fantastic little gem of a book that we'll talk about in a minute. But first, let's jump into the mailbox, man. What do we get this month? We got tons of great stuff, including the return of our pals, Heroineburgh. Remember Heroineburgh #1?
I do. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They did #2. Look, they're not.
They did.
You can't keep those guys down.
And I'm not sure if they listened to us, but and it took any of our little tips or not. But I definitely think they upped their game on this issue. So we'll take a look at that.
Cool.
We'll take a look at the board side, and we're gonna look at Blood Desert and the works of this crazy pal, Adam Yeater, who just sent me, oh my gosh, so much stuff. We're gonna look at his stuff first because there's so much of it. Now, he took my advice and sent me just like everything he's got. These hand-drawn sketch cards, okay? And
oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a few of the books I made this year. Blood Desert is my ongoing horror comic series. Keep Talking Comics, Adam Yeater.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, huh?
Love it. Now, there is something wrong with Adam's comics, and I mean that in the best way. The best way, Larry.
It came through. There's something just not right with that guy, right?
Dude, these are special. This is a special thing, man, because I didn't know what to expect when I got it, and I looked at it, and I didn't expect much until I read it, and I just got such a kick out of this, I can't even tell you. But he sent me, okay, first of all, I tried to save every little thing he sent because every envelope had a sticker hand-drawn by him, right?
Yeah.
And a nice little note and a bunch of mini comics in here, okay? He also sent his first graphic novel, One Last Day. And man, these are all oversized, big magazine-sized, kind of, I don't know, Jim Woodring meets Mats meets, dude, I don't know, but this Land of Nox.
Yeah.
Call me comic inside. Yeah.
Call me crazy. I see a little James Kolchaka in that.
Absolutely. Dude.
Yeah. I love that stuff. You know I love mini comics.
This guy. Yeah.
Started with mini comics.
I mean, this guy's all pure storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can see he's working out his storytelling chops. It's harder to see in this one. There's no dialogue in any of these Land of Nox things that he did. But there's undeniable storytelling action happening. Like there's a story happening going forward. But we're not going to talk about this one so much. I just wanted to show him.
Yeah, he's got a body of work. You're showing the kids. He's not messing around.
And these are really the colors I love.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The production values are solid. This is the kind of thing you're going to see at a table at Ape, and you're going to be like, yeah, I'll buy some of these.
Yeah, give me all of that. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then check this one out. I love this one because it's a mini comic, and then inside it, there's another even minier comic.
That's great.
Like built in.
Can you tell how it's printed? Is it just inkjet, or is he? Because that mini comic looks like it's screen printed.
Well, so these are these look like they're screen printed. I think so.
Yeah. Huh.
2-color printing here. Some of them might just be photocopies. It's hard to tell. Yeah. Hard for me to tell. But
even photocopies though. I'm just a giant fan of once you've completed your story, that you're actually making the physical books yourself too. You're just not. I'm a giant fan of that. My first Astronauts in Trouble mini, we went to the Xerox place and made 2,500 copies and bought a long stapler so we could put them all together. Then we watched RoboCop and stapled them all together.
Right. Well, I mean that tactile, hands-on, you get the feeling, and I don't know, it helps you tell. There's a difference between a well put together mini comic and one that's not. Like, these are all trimmed and well done. This guy's got his act together production-wise for sure.
I agree 100%.
I love these. Are like candy to me. The colors and the beauty of them. I love them. I don't like them. I love them.
Nice.
But now let's talk story. Let's look at his saga, because we could spend all day and review every one of these, but we're not gonna. Instead, we're gonna look at, oh man, Blood Desert. Okay.
I wonder how long this takes him. Do you have an idea?
Well, okay, so this is Blood Desert number 7. Okay? This is the latest issue. This is Blood Desert, the trade paperback volume, which is volume 1 through 4, and it also came out this year.
Yeah. So he's cranking.
This could be like he's trapped in the pandemic, you know what I mean? He's trapped inside. He's taking advantage of that. I don't really know, but he's putting out stuff. And it would be easy for me to say, yeah, this is amateurish or something, but I'm not going to say that, because
I wouldn't.
While the rendering is not the highest and most detailed, the storytelling chops, he's got him, dude. He's telling a great story. This is the story of this dude, okay? And he goes to these kiosks. There's a kiosk out there that has drones that bring in his assignments to go assassinate people in the mutation zone. And so he's traveling throughout. He's killing crazy animals. He's killing mutants. He's going on these. But look at this. Come on, Larry.
No, this is excellent. I don't think there's anything amateurish about this at all.
Yeah,
like,
it's not.
I get what you're saying though, but amateurish is kind of loaded. I would say this is kind of homespun. You know what I mean?
I don't want to say crude, but I want to say it's
homespun. It's like he made his own shirt in the cabin at night. You know what I mean? So his shirt looks like a comic book that's awesome. Look at that. You know who would love this? My kid, my 13-year-old, would think this is the best thing he's ever seen.
Sorry, but it is the best thing he's ever seen.
Those last 2 pages, man. That's awesome.
Oh, dude, and it gets better. It keeps getting better. This guy, so he's fighting crazy mutant birds. This is the first 4 issues. Come on. I mean, he's taking no prisoners.
Yeah. No, I love it.
He's sort of the mystery man with no name. Oh, but wait, it gets better. So in this, he gets in a giant fight. He loses his leg. He loses his middle finger, Larry.
Well, that's awkward, because how do you flip people off now?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Larry, because not long later, he's helped out by a friendly mutant surgeon who gives him a new prosthetic foot.
Okay, yeah.
And a special spiked prosthetic middle finger.
Excellent.
Okay,
Excellent,
and this guy goes forth to wreak havoc in the mutant world. Nothing stops him, nothing slows him down. And here in our latest issue, we actually find out his origin story. This is our pal now by issue 7.
Nice,
it turns out what he is a, look at this.
I love it.
Turns out he's one of many clones created by this corporation, and he's sort of a clone in Tunis, Arizona. And he was sort of like, this is great. He's like befriended by these bro types, but who just decide to like kick him in the nuts on YouTube. And that's all it took. That's what it takes to drive him over the edge.
Right, he's gone nuts now, yeah.
This reminds me a lot of The Freak, the book that we looked at by Matthew Lesniewski
I
last
remember.
time.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of similar themes. But man, this one is balls out. This is what we call Outlaw Comics.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it. Blood Desert
So,
people.
are those stapled? Or,
Dude,
no,
these
no.
are like perfect bound.
Yeah, I got the perfect bound.
This looks like a print-on-demand job to me. There's nothing on the spine.
Yeah.
There's no indicia. There's no notes. There's just pages of pure art, but that almost makes it better. It's
Yeah, I
just
love
like
that.
Pure.
Yeah, you made a book, man. I'm not.
And it's got this sort of textured. It's almost like a textured, like a vinyl textured type cover. I'm not really familiar with, but I don't know. It's a different kind of production values, but I honestly cannot get enough of the color palette.
Yeah, no, that's crazy good.
And the look and the feel. I freaking love this thing. Okay. let's keep going, Larry. Let's go to Heroineburgh, okay? Our old pals.
Yeah, of course. See what they're up to. Issue 2, that's great. I love it.
They've definitely come along. I got some notes here. I want to pull out my notes in my special invisible notebook. Okay. Here it is. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Heroineburgh. Man, so this is a group of people out of Pittsburgh, PA. My hometown, by the way. Pittsburgh represent. They've got a group of cosplayers, but then they've also thrown in with these creative types, comic creative types. Manny Theiner, Benjamin Zeus Barnett, Wayne Brown, Jason Wright, Marcel Walker, Howard Bender, and Ann Strongman. All did the art chores. So there's 3 separate stories in here. It's full color, glossy pages. We get the story of Opanthyra, who gains her powers by eating mutated methamphetamines of some kind. So she's like a bad guy in this universe. And we get a little cliffhanger story. She's wreaking havoc, and is the new tough kid on the block. Our second story is this one I really love. This is probably my favorite story of the book, because what I liked about it is, like the first story, it's a cliffhanger, but it tells a satisfying kind of beginning to end story within this, but still has a sort of, it's like a throwback to the comics we used to read, right, Larry, where they tell a story, but there's still something to look forward to. Again, I like the colors a lot, but what I really love, this third piece. Now, this is really not comic book. This is a series of comic strips. Each one of these is a single strip. It's almost like the Spider-Man comic strip by Stan Lee. Mm-hmm. Sort of recap in the first panel of what happened in the last panel sometimes. But I don't know if you can see this. The art on this, I really am a fan of this art. The colors, and the style, the lettering, it all works. I think it would probably work. I mean, it's not meant for the comic book page necessarily like this, but it still works really well, and it's fun to look at.
How neat that they this is a separate project, right? They didn't repurpose any art. They just drew it. Another story.
Yeah, I have the feeling that this ones here might have been like a webcomic or something somewhere.
Oh, of course,
and brought in for it. But it's all their original characters.
I love that they even did that. The one note I would have for them on that is that when you opened it up for the first page, where there was still comic story on the left, but the strips on the right.
Oh yeah.
At the back, there's not. You need sort of like a little visual break there, because as you were talking, I counted up. Yeah, that one on the right hand side. I counted up, and I was like, it's just super jarring because it has 13 panels. So. I was just pointed at my computer going, yeah, okay, this bit right here. Yeah, that is all. It's very jarring when you look at the left-hand page.
Yeah.
See where it says ha ha ha? Does it say that's the end of the story in that little
It does. Box? It says the end until next issue. Yeah.
All right. Well, so
continued here.
Yeah, so at least they gave you some kind of, idea that there's something else. But just looking at it, the flip test, it made me go, "What the hell?" Like if you had
It's
put
a little bit jarring. Yeah.
you put another page in there with like a one, a one figure illustration, and then some text on the other side that said, "Here's," gives context to that stuff.
That's
But,
exact. That's what I'm thinking. Like instead of
Yeah.
this last page here, if in the
you
beginning
just put
there
that
had
in the
been a
middle.
little header, right?
Yeah, exactly,
here, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
then,
agree with
I
that.
mean, that's kind of a like little nitpicky note. Like these guys, I mean, that it's going to get perfect, right? Not like this is
That's what I'm
total.
saying. If that's the worst you can
Right,
say,
right. These guys know what
that's
they're
pretty
doing.
good.
These
Yeah,
guys know
this
what
is
they're
good
doing.
stuff. These guys and gals, right? They're doing
Right. Well,
quality stuff.
Yeah.
I
I
love
live
it for
in-
a fan-made, like convention cosplay themed, like comic.
Yeah. No, that's all. I love those guys. You know that. Every time you bring something up, I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome.
Well, this is so far beyond. I don't know, in our era even of the going to cons and stuff. Like people
Yeah.
did this kind of stuff, and they did, but this is a level of quality that is like on par with pretty much anything on the stands. Maybe not up to this moment, but at least for 5-10 years ago, at least it's as good or better than anything that was on the shelf.
I just like it's another aspect of their multi-pronged multimedia thing, right? With the folks actually dressing up, and they have, of course, people do backstories for their characters, but now they have, actual adventures. That's just awesome. I love it.
Oh, I wanted to point out one. I forgot. I have it in my notes. I loved it so much. And I'm not even a metal fan. But how can you not like, I must save the metal scene. I am Hellfire.
Yeah.
He's going to save the metal scene once and for all. I love it.
That's an awesome
All
name
right,
for a character. I like the Panthira too, whatever that one was.
We got a lot of cool characters here.
If you get your
Dark.
powers from mutated methamphetamines, you have to have a good name.
She's Panthira. We've got
Okay.
Chlorina, Scintilla, Vaporia. Kind of sounds like a STD, that one. That's okay. Vendetta, Genia, Poderosa, Divana, Savannah, and I think I said Darbuka already. Heroineburgh. Awesome.
It's rocking.
Okay. All right, Larry, this next one is going to hit close to home, literally. Okay? This is
I actually looked these guys up when we spoke about it a week or so ago, because
Yeah.
I know Douglas Gorney just from the neighborhood. He's a really good painter. So when you told me about this, I was like, oh my god, I have to check these guys out. So I read the webpage of Boardside, and these are super interesting cats.
So, the board side. Thorsten Sideboard, okay? The creator. One of my oldest and dearest friends. I met him during the dot-com boom in San Francisco. I met him in a stairway. And and we started talking about comic books and computer hacking and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, and no one else could understand him because of his thick Scottish brogue. Okay. But I had just read From Hell and was steeped in this Scottish dialect and was watching a lot of movies, whatever, Train Spotting, whatever. And I could actually understand what this dude said. And I was like, this guy is brilliant. We have to hire him immediately. Okay. And I was right. He went to work for Nest, who got bought by Google, and then he moved over to YouTube, and he's a top engineer over there helping out on all kinds of good stuff. And he lives in the Sunset. Tell us about the Sunset District, Larry.
Well, the Outer Sunset, where we live, is the westernmost part of the San Francisco Peninsula, and it's just great. It's the Outer Sunset is like you get all the benefits of living in a giant metropolitan city like San Francisco, but the vibe is just total surfer coastal. Everything's cool, like little village. it's a really chill place to live. And yeah, I mean, that illustration you're showing right there, that's basically what every street looks like from 48th Avenue back to like 25th Avenue.
I lived at 36th and Kirkham.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Back in my college days, a house that looked pretty much exactly
Sure.
like this.
Yeah. There's only I forget the architect who did it out here, but there's only 5 styles of houses, and they just put them all out there.
And they used to all built on sand dunes, right? They just turned those sand dunes. They just said, we got to expand.
Yeah, it's all
Was that
sand.
in the 50s, the 40s, something like that?
Oh, our house is 1940, so I think they really started in earnest out here a few years before that.
Okay, so what I just showed you was all drawings of the Sunset District by Thorsten. This is all his personal work.
Yeah, that's just great.
My side of the city. Guy's he's just always drawn as long as I've known him, and he's loved comics. We used to go weekly to Mission Comics and Arts, a supporter of this channel and a
good old Leaf, yeah.
Leaf is the man.
Yeah.
He watches the show a lot. And we used to go every week to Mission Comics and scarf up the new stuff. And now he's out there. He put this out. My Side of the City is his little mini. But then he also, when he moved out to the Sunset, he always loved it out there. He really liked, and he noticed, and there's a little manifesto here in the beginning that talks about how, well, we all know San Francisco, the rents, the gentrification, everything went crazy, right? And it's hard to live in the Mission or anywhere cool. I'm going to say cool. Right? But the Sunset is still close to reasonable for some, right?
Yeah. Oh, you mean like money wise to
just
live?
rent wise, you're going to pay less to live in the Sunset.
Yeah. It's actually, we just got our first like pretty major grocery store, and they've closed down the Great Highway, the north-south thing, so people can, congregate during the Corona. But
Okay, so
they're making it into a little shishi place, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, it's getting there.
Yeah.
Well, this is work by all artists from the Sunset District. This is probably my favorite page in the whole book. I'm just a sucker for nature illustrations.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, there's a bunch of talent out here. That's for sure.
Well, and this book is full of it. Poetry, sheet music.
Oh, that's
if you're
great.
into it.
Yeah.
More paintings, more poems. It's an old school zine, man. This is something like that you would see maybe at the Ape, or you would definitely see it. Oh, I love these two. You would definitely see this at like the Anarchist Book Fair in San Francisco. You ever go to that thing?
Yeah, of course.
Of course you did. This is some of my favorite stuff. This sketchbook stuff. I really am a fan of this sort of like sign painter illustration style in general. This is beautiful stuff.
Yeah, that's just great. Yeah, out at the Sunset, there's lots of creativity out here. There always has been. San Francisco, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. That San Francisco has always been the place you come to do your thing. And that Sutro page is cool.
Yeah, this is all Thorsten's pages himself. He really loves that Victorian stuff and historical stuff. He draws a lot of it. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. What a glorious thing to have a mini comic zine about your neighborhood.
About your neighborhood, why not? Right?
Yeah.
That's what you should be making your zines about.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. All those people are obviously pros, though.
The board side, we love it.
Love it.
Okay. Now, speaking of pros, let's talk about some professional comics, okay? I want to look at this. I'm just going to get this one surprised me. So I wrote to Eric. I said, hey, Eric, if you send me some comics, I'll talk about them on my show.
Now that's Eric Reynolds of Fantagraphics, right?
Yeah. Eric's a great guy. We had an interview with him. Check out in the links below. Check out our lengthy interview with Eric Reynolds. He's a fine journalist, writer, and a fine artist in his own right as well. He sent me some other stuff, including the anthology comic that he's editing I'm going to bring those in at another time. I've looked at them a little bit, but today I want to look at these hardcovers that he sent me. Okay, this is Cloven. Nice signed book plate.
I love it.
Nice bookmark sent in. And this is by Garth Stein, writer, and drawn by Matthew Southworth. I'm not familiar with either of them. But
yeah, Southworth is a Facebook friend of mine. I love his art. I follow his illustration. He's pretty good.
I'm gonna say art-wise alone, it's a beautiful thing to look at. What was really weird about this? Not weird, but it's not what I expect from Fantagraphics normally. Like if you were to just like give me this book and say who published this book, I would have guessed. I might have guessed Vertigo when there was a Vertigo.
I was going to say early Vertigo.
Yeah.
That looks like something Karen Berger would like.
Because it's definitely a sci-fi thing. I mean, it does remind me a little bit, which I haven't read, Sweet Tooth from Vertigo, just in concept, because we've got this sort of cloven hoofed sort of dude. And that's the gist of the story, is that there's these genetically mutated people with cloven hooves and like really strong skulls, and there's a whole backstory to the sci-fi trappings and roots behind it and stuff. But it's really more of a story about our hero, the main protagonist, sort of looking for belonging and sort of finding this group, this other group of mutants like him.
I love the cool choice of the colored word balloons.
Yeah,
that really really makes the
that.
dialogue stand out from the page. Really like that.
I'll be honest, I didn't even take note of that. I don't think
See,
I can remember another thing like that.
But that's what makes that awesome, is that you do a subtle thing like that and it's not jarring, right? It doesn't take away from the art or the story, but there was a whole meeting about whether to do that or not. You know what I mean?
It's distinctive. It's a distinctive look. It gives a whole look to the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I love that whole package. That's really cool. I'm kind of curious about the V in the circle, because isn't that a V for Vendetta thing in the logo, the Cloven logo?
Right. Let's see.
Isn't that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's an anarchy reference, really.
It is. Yeah.
What
Okay.
it is, because in reality, this group that he sort of gets involved with, there's a lot of like anarchist leanings. There's a lot of
Gotcha. It makes sense for the story then. I gotcha.
Yeah, I think so.
Just that little V on the guy's forehead made me think of it.
And
look at that!
Giant quadruple fold out.
Yeah, Eric paid for that. That's not cheap.
This is the Cloven guys, like in action. It really does have action, a lot of superhero action-ish type action. Mm-hmm. Not what I expect out of a Fantagraphics book, but also it's definitely not your standard sci-fi thing either.
Right.
With art and writing, with art, especially comic art, like you could take this same exact story and just give it to whoever, and you would get kind of a standard by the numbers looking sci-fi graphic novel, which this is not.
Gotcha.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I love it. What's the price point on that? Because of that super gatefold, I'm kind of curious.
Oh, great question. Only $24.95. It's a hardcover.
You know, that's totally reasonable.
Spot varnish.
Yeah,
Here.
that's a sharp looking book. Totally worth it. You're getting your value there.
Nobody has better production values on graphic novels than Fantagraphics. I'll just say I don't care. And no publishing house, especially not comics. Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right. Nice work.
Well, speaking of which, okay, man, they don't just put out adult, underground, whatever comics, right? They got Disney licenses over there at Fantagraphics, and they're ready to use them. But they're not just going to put out Mickey Mouse and Pals. They're going to do something a little bit different. So this is Mickey All-Stars. Mm-hmm. This is all European comic artists I've never heard of.
Oh, what a great idea. Yeah.
And each page, though, it's all sort of a, what do they call that? Exquisite corpse or whatever they call it, where it's like each story just begins with Mickey entering a door and then leaving a door. Entering a world through a door and then leaving a door, right? And so everyone is just him going through a series of doorways, each by a completely different artist in a completely different style.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Some of them, I mean, every single one of them was wonderful to look at. And, you know, as fun as it's going to be to read a one-page Mickey Mouse runs through a weird world story. But art-wise, fantastic. Like, this is some world-class cartooning on display on every single page.
You know what I love about projects like this? That the conceit is he comes into a door and he leaves through a door. And then, so leaving through the door, he actually is appearing at the door for the next artist. You know what I mean? It's like this giant, oh man, what was that called? Human centipede.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to put that in my head right
Maybe
now,
that's not the best reference. But I meant that.
Well, this is what they did. What did they call it? Exquisite Corpse, right? There was that comic that was written this way, but it was like panel by panel.
Right.
This is page by page.
What I also love about this is that you don't have to spend any time setting up your characters, right?
No, you don't.
It's just the artist showcase, I love projects like that.
And you could read it straight through if you wanted to. You could read it in any order. It really doesn't matter.
That's what a wonder. You know who the audience is for that? Like everybody. So that's
exactly.
a really good project. I like that a lot.
Look
That's
at
super
this.
commercial.
I love this one. Ulf. Oh, this is one guy I do recognize. Ulf K. And this really reminds me a lot, like Disney art teams and direction, even in their animation, has been taking a lot of chances with their classic characters like Mickey. Like they're not staying on model. They're not going classic. I love this stuff.
Yeah, that's just what a great project that is. Hey, good thing Valentine's Day is coming up because my wife loves Mickey Mouse.
Oh, this is probably my favorite.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, I really love it. And well, Larry, it's great for people who love Mickey and great for cheapskate husbands because this thing is only $20.
Is this out?
This is out in stores,
yeah.
$19.99.
Yeah.
From Fantagraphics, Mickey All Stars. I'll just maybe you'll know some of these names. And I apologize. I'm not saying these are nobodies by any means. I'm just saying, in America, we don't hear about guys like these.
I was gonna say, unless it's like Mobius or Charlie Adlard or
which it ain't. It ain't.
I'm not gonna. I'm not up on European guys. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't even. I'm going to be embarrassed even trying to pronounce some of these names. So I'm going to tell you to go to the website, check this out. Now, this is one where, like their other Mickey books, it's weird because this is not an all. They don't say it's all ages. They say it's like for like 12 and up or something. And I'm not sure why. I talked to Eric a little bit about that, but that comes from Disney.
That they don't want to say all ages?
Yeah, they don't want to sell, even in their classic stuff, like the reprint stuff. Like they're like, this is not for 5 or 6 year olds. It's more like for 12 or 14
yeah. Well, I mean, it could be project oriented, right? Or it just might be that they don't want to be perceived as like the rated G stuff anymore.
What's great about this is this is a great book for anybody who's a fan. Like you said, like your wife, she just likes Mickey. You could get her this. She doesn't have to like comics. She doesn't have to like European comics. She's gonna like this.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we've got one more, Larry.
Are we going to talk about that one?
Let's talk about it, dude.
All right,
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back in here, and we're gonna go back into here. And we're going to pull up something here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Are you going to get in trouble for this?
No way.
Okay.
I was given this specifically to review by Eric.
To talk it up.
This
I got you.
They sent me this thing, right? So
all right.
Now let's talk. Are we the first to talk about Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters? We might
I think you are.
We just might be scooping people. So let's look at this thing.
Can I just gush like a fanboy for a second?
Go, Larry.
My first comics that I really like, once I knew what comics were instead of just some fun thing that my parents bought me, was the Marvel Conan by Barry Windsor Smith. When he went by Barry Smith, right? That long ago. And that guy's art was just mind-blowing. I think I was probably about 6 or 8. And, it didn't look like the Charlton Hot Rod comics or the John Romita Spider-Man that I was reading. It was visually lush. I mean, the subject matter was crazy. There's just people cutting heads off. And so it was just amazing. It actually made me read all the Robert E. Howard paperback stories. And so, of course, I followed this guy's career the entire time. And then he just kind of stopped doing comics. But apparently,
yes,
he's just been doing this the whole time. And so I think it's amazing.
I guess so. Okay, well, you read it, and I read it. I read it this morning. I read it. I finished the last page a couple minutes before this broadcast began because, I don't know, a couple reasons. One, it was digital, right? They sent me a PDF. This isn't out in stores yet. They didn't have paper copies to send, so I had to read it on my handy tablet. My Chromebook, actually. Purple tablet.
Nice.
But I don't like reading comics that way. I went to the beach to read it, and I'm like, oh, glare off the screen, and not the biggest fan of that format. But I did learn to appreciate it a little bit once I got a good comic viewer, a CBZ viewer, or whatever. It was kind of cool to be able to zoom in on some panels and stuff like that. So I don't know.
I'm not a giant fan of reading PDFs because we're in front of the computer the whole time, right? So here's some stuff I have to do on the computer again. So, but this, oh my God. I read like 100 pages of it before I thought that I hated reading comics on a PDF.
I agree.
That's how good it was. It's kind of interesting in that it's called Monsters, and there's a monster in it, but everybody else acts in a monstrous way. So it's kind of were I to try to summarize it, it would sound kind of not lame, but just sort of ordinary. And man, this is the opposite of ordinary.
It is definitely the opposite of ordinary. Yeah. It's really, in my mind, this is about intergenerational trauma, and it's about the effects of war and how they reverberate through multiple generations.
Well, his storytelling is just crazy on point, right? Where you'll read 3 pages of something, and then realize, oh my God, this has something to do with 20 pages ago, and I just didn't notice because I was so enraptured with what was going on. You can really get lost in his art. You really can.
Well, that was the thing. And then when I started reading this, I started going, oh man, this is another artist who should just find a good writer. I started saying that.
Right.
But then I kept going. What's amazing about this book is it keeps going back in time, back further and further back in time. So things that you think are gaps in the storytelling in the beginning that you're just like, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. Completely comes together by the end. And there really is an interconnected spokes of a wheel metaphor that they talk about in this book that is really present throughout.
That's why I sort of laughed when you said, oh, I thought this was just an artist who needed a writer. And I thought that initially myself. I'm like, oh, come on. But man, it doesn't take too long where you're like, oh my God, this is the opposite of that. This is a creator who's just 100% on top of his game. Yes. And when you hear about somebody just disappearing and working on something for 10 or 15 years, you think there's no way that you're going to say that was time well spent. There's no way. Oh, except this is like every single bit of work this guy, brain power, mental work, physical sacrifice, whatever, comes off of every page. It's just amazing. I'm running out of hyperboles of how amazing that is.
It's kind of crazy because art-wise, you could look at it and just go master, top of his form. I mean, everything is lines. There's no tone. There's no coloring. Every single thing is a line that his pen put on, on this page.
Well, that's what I responded to most as just an audience member. This is the kind of art I love.
Yeah.
Like just straight black and white lines on paper. Tell me your story. Like I don't really even like color comics, and I hate computer colored comics with the crazy gradations and stuff. This is what I want out of comics, and it's amazing. I love it.
It really boils it down to its purest elements, right? This is all you need. This is kind of the bare minimum you need to tell an incredible comic story.
Right.
I mean, color can add something.
Oh yeah, no,
I could tell a story just as great or greater in black and white for sure.
I just mean the sort of stuff me as a reader, as a fan. I'm just a giant black and white fan, but yeah, no, I love color comics. But you know what's cool about the comics you review? Let me shine your shoes for a little. That Blood Desert thing and this, it's the same thing. They're like lines on paper, man. And so, of course, one artist is more visually accomplished than the other, but you can talk about those two projects in the same show and not have it be out of the ordinary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's look at Blood Desert in 40 years when that guy has been working on comics for 40, and let's see what he's got to put out.
Right. But that's what I mean. Awesome. That's what I love about comics is that I always think about Matt Wagner's. I think I talked about this once with you. That Matt Wagner's Kamiko Primer thing with a first Grendel. It blew my mind, but the art is not, it's nowhere near what Matt is now. So, but it's kind of like here's a guy who is not letting that he's not the best artist get in the way of him telling a cool story. So
the best artists in comics are not always the best delineators.
Sure, like technically proficient guys. Yeah.
Sometimes they are. When you get that combination of great storyteller and great renderer, you get something incredibly special. That's where you get. I think that's what we're looking at right here.
Oh, I agree. Oh my God. Yeah, this, like I said, running out of superlatives. And the interesting thing though, like if I was sitting at home and listening to us two chuckleheads say this is the best thing ever, I'd be like, yeah, right, pal. But you kind of can't oversell this. Like, if I tell you this is like one of the best comics in the last 20 years, there's really no argument. Like, but people might find different things that they enjoy about it. Like I'm saying, I love the black and white rendering, but there's like emotion coming out. It's incredible that how Smith
magic realism almost in many moments.
Yeah.
There's definitely a psychic angle, almost akin to like The Shining with some of the characters. There's two separate intergenerational families intertwined from World War II and into the present day. And we go backwards in time throughout the book, and we go further and further back to discover the origins of, as you said, it's called Monsters. There's our character, the main character we see on the cover, or in the beginning, and the story starts out, and I started going like, this is kind of Weapon X. This is Weapon X without adamantium, right? It's a government experiment on this dude, and they're transforming into something. Oh, and now he's going to turn into the Hulk, and now we're going to have a slugfest, action-packed adventure with this guy and get to see his awesome superpowers and him redeeming it. We don't get any of that stuff.
Well, that's what I meant by, like, it sounds kind of lame if you describe it, but, it's not. It's not that at all.
And it's very talky. It's mostly dialogue. It's a lot of dialogue and a lot of complicated conversations and a complicated set of characters that interact with each other.
Can I just tell you one bit I really did enjoy, though? That because that is so dense, there is a lot of story. I mean, like, nobody can say they're not getting their money's worth out of this thing.
Oh, my gosh.
But do you remember pretty early in the story, there's that bit where there was a car crash, guys chasing Bailey, and not Bailey, the African-American soldier who got Bailey into the... And he's getting chased by somebody who's trying to murder him, and a truck blows him up. After all that density and story and talking and character development, there's 2 pages where it's just a car wreck. And I was like, Barry Windsor Smith is really showing off here because
Oh,
once
yes.
he's lulled you into thinking, oh, this is like superhero Mike dinner with Andre or stuff, and then there's this giant 2-page Michael Bay thing in the middle of it, and he's just really showing you the whole spectrum of what you can do in comics.
Oh, yeah.
That I just
This is
this is just amazing.
this could be a movie. This could be a great movie.
Yeah.
It reminds me almost of like, it's not really, but close, maybe Cloud Atlas. Did you ever see Cloud Atlas?
I did, yeah. I see what
Just
you mean,
in the
like
sense that you have sprawling characters,
the
but it's a
characters
little
and
more,
through time. Yeah, I was
but it's a
thinking
little
that
more densely together than that.
I was thinking at first, like, oh, this is very cinematic, could be a movie. But my next thought was like, yeah, except it would tank if anybody but Guillermo del Toro did it.
Well, yeah.
You get Guillermo on there, and that movie's gonna rock.
I thought Tarantino too at one point. I was just like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
need that kind of somebody
Yeah.
who's gonna take it. Because, dude, there's the scene. I just want to say, I read the whole thing, and Larry was telling me as I sent this to him, he's like, dude, this is bleak. It's getting bleaker. It's getting bleaker. And then we get to the point where the Nazi forces the other Nazi to fillet him. I don't know if you. There is some crazy shit in here. The Nazi professor dude, who you think he's the genetic engineering version of Werner von Braun, right? You go like, oh, he's this Nazi genius who was plucked out and then brought into the American military, and like Werner von Braun went on to help create the space program, this guy went on to create the genetic monstrosity program, whatever that they're doing.
I did. I had that thought about the Nazis. I was like, well, of course they're Nazis, and a thing called monsters. And I was thinking, this is it's so raw. You kind of can do it with like fake bad guys or a lesser thing. You like need like the most evil people who have ever walked the earth to do this because it's just monstrous.
Well, what's great about that character and some of the other characters is they're kind of just like shits. They're just kind of like rotten, shitty people.
They're monsters.
Yeah, what do you know, right? But then none of them are even what they think or claim to be.
Right.
You could go Werner von Braun. Okay, he got us NASA and he brought us to the moon, and he did put America ahead in the space race. This guy, it's a different story. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, it's bleak.
And this other guy, this character, dude, this guy, the jokey guy.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to. I need to go back and reread this because I didn't quite understand how he fit in.
I just
to the
assumed
rank and file of the military.
I assume that's supposed to be somebody that Windsor Smith hates and just made it. This is my next door neighbor who like cut down my flower to make him the biggest dick.
Well, so we get a lot. I mean, another thing that's interesting is, when we go into flashback mode in some of the later. Let me see if I can.
Do you know who lettered this? Does it say?
As far as I know, he did.
Because he's got kind of a Ken Brusnak thing going on there with a. Remember in the initial pages where one of them, I think it's Bailey, as the monster screaming in German, and it's like the huge old German letter forms, but filling the page, and so you get the idea that somebody's yelling because you can't read it. It's just like 4 or 5 letters.
I love that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, German yelling. Well, I'm not supposed to understand it. I thought that was super, super compelling.
Oh yeah, and it goes to his the main character, this guy, the kid, the son, his state of mind, right? When he keeps going back to those events and keeps going, it was so heartbreaking, man. As a parent,
I know this whole thing. I had to stop reading like around issue 2. I mean, page 200 or so, because I was like, wow, this is hurting my soul.
Dude,
but
I mean, he cripples his son. He does all this crazy stuff. But the worst thing he does in this, to me, he's the worst, is he tells his son he's going to take him to a baseball game, and then he just goes, nah, I'm not going to take you. And then he just goes to the baseball.
Not going to do it.
Oh, my God. And the poor kid's crying, and the mom's crying, and it was just...
Yeah. Well, he's a monster, right? By the time I got to that, I was like, well, of course. And not just that, but he tells his wife, like, don't wait up for me. Right? So not only am I not taking the kid, but I'm doing some shenanigans. I'm not coming back to my loving family. Yeah.
And then when we finally get towards the end, I don't want to reveal too much here, but when we finally get to the end and we see like kind of what he went through in the war and what turned him into the monster that he was, that's when it all just started clicking about the intergenerational trauma of war to me.
Yeah.
That is, to me, is the theme that is here, is that it goes from somebody who had this trauma done to him in the war, and he brings it home. He did it to his son, and then what did his son want to do but go join the army and perpetuate the cycle?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was my read on it.
I was talking to Mimi about this because I was at my downstairs office. I went upstairs to get something to drink, and I was like, she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, this thing I'm reading is just it's so dark. And I was telling her a little about it, and I was like, I don't see how Barry Windsor Smith worked on this every day for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, he had to go out and like do something fun after he finished the page, because it's relentless.
Dude, I hope so, because it was a brutal thing, and ultimately uplifting, I suppose, by the end, but not exactly the happiest of endings.
I honestly can't think of a project this big that impacted me so much that where it's not a happy ending at the end. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, it's a rare thing for me as an audience member to respond to such a like relentless bleakness, but that's how good this is. Yeah.
I think it couldn't have been pulled off if you didn't have the top. I mean, this is like you're making a movie and you got the best cinematographer and you got the best lighting director and you got the best actors, right? Because all of that stuff comes out of Barry's pen.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't even do comics this year because you're not getting the Eisner. Barry's getting all of them.
He might. But, dude, I'm going to say, well, this one maybe, I don't know if it is shipped yet, so it probably wasn't in the 2020. There were some amazing comics in 2020. We looked at a lot of them here on the show. 2021's only looking better. The means of production now, it's the barrier to entry to produce your own comics are so much lower than they've ever been.
You know, if they had print on demand like Lulu.com and stuff when I was starting, I probably would have tried to be an artist. I just didn't, I don't know.
It's hard. Well, yeah, I get it, because I think the publisher may be their days. I don't know how much longer we're going to have publishers. I don't know how much longer we need those middlemen, to be honest.
I think you're right. Maybe not publishers, but certainly distributors, right? We don't need distributors anymore.
The middles, man. It's all that middle layer of the whole industry and of every industry that's getting destroyed right now. Oh, man. Is that a bleak way to end it? Wait a minute. Let's talk about before we go.
It's thematically sound. Like, that was a pretty bleak comic we were just talking about.
So before we go, what do you know about? Let's talk for a second, Larry. We got a few more minutes here. What do you know about short squeezing?
It's so hard not to make a joke, but you're talking about the Wall Street stuff, right?
I'm talking about GameStop. I'm talking about short squeeze.
I got a couple of friends who are brokers who explained it to me, and that's Eugene Regassa and Ivory Johnson. Thank you for explaining that to me. But yeah, it just seemed like a really large buying X-Men 94 boxes and selling them to your friends.
Okay, so let's talk about, just real quick. I wanted, for an example, I want to use Skate Man, because little known fact, I've been cornering the market on Skate Man.
Do you buy Skate Man every time you see one? Is that it?
Every single time I see Skate Man, I will buy one.
That's awesome.
And, oh, even better. So here's where we get into our short squeeze analogy. Friend of the show, Chuck Rosansky, right? He's sitting on tons of comics all the time. So I went to my pal Chuck and I said, hey, Chuck, can I borrow your copies of Skate Man? You know, because I'm gonna go, I don't pay you back. I'll bring them back and I'll give you a little bit of juice on that, okay? I'll give you a little bit of, a little taste, a little bit of interest if you just lend me your Skate Mans, okay? My idea is that I'm going to take these Skate Mans, I'm going to sell them because I think the price of Skate Man is going down, right? And I think that in 5 weeks or in a month, when I told Chuck I'd pay this thing back, the price of Skate Man is going to be way low. So I'm going to take it now. I'm going to take his Skate Man now. I'm going to sell him. But in a month, I'll be able to buy him back for nothing because Skate Man is not great, man. That's the idea, okay? That's a short sale, okay? But what happens, Larry? What happens when Larry decides?
Yeah, Skate Man sounds like a good idea.
I love Skate Man.
Yeah.
So Larry buys Skate Man. Larry gets on his message board, comic book bets, and exhorts all of his friends and says, hey man, Skate Man is great. You should buy Skate Man. You'll like Skate Man. Just buy it and hold. Just buy one and hang on to it. Larry's got a lot of pals, and all his pals go out and start buying up Skate Man. And so
it's Neil Adams. What's not to like?
How could you not like
Can't
it?
go wrong.
Right? Well, wait a minute. As a matter of fact. So how could you not like good old Skate Man? So I'm going to go out, but now the price of Skate Man is going up. And I told Chuck I was going to pay him back for those issues, right? And so I have to buy those issues to get them. So now I have to compete for those issues too. So now I'm actually helping the price of Skate Man to go up even more as I try to buy more issues to cover my position to pay him back to Chuck Rosansky. Okay? As much as Skate Man goes up, I have to pay that much to get those Skate Mans to pay back Chuck. So I have unlimited downside on my Skate Man short exposure. You get what's going on?
Infinite downside. Here's the part I don't get about the real world thing. Like, Chuck's a good guy. Like, everybody knows Chuck. He's a famous guy. Everybody knows him. It's conceivable he'd be like, all right, Dan, let's have some laughs. Here's all my copies of Skate Man. See what happens. Yeah. That's the part I don't get. Like, how does that happen in hedge funds? They're like, okay, you can just kind of have this stuff that doesn't exist, and just everybody plays monkey shine for that. Yeah,
it's even crazier than that because if I buy those shares, and then I sell them, they can be lent out again and again.
Right.
So you can actually have a short position. You could think that Skate Man is going to go down. You can have a short position that's more than the entire inventory of Skate Man combined, the entire print run of Skate Man. I can short it beyond what even exists. So who's to blame here? Is it me for over leveraging myself? Is it me for putting all my eggs in the Skate Man basket? Or is it Larry and his friends for just wanting to buy Skate Man?
Well, that's how I explained it to my 13-year-old. I'm like, remember when we get bumped off a plane and you're like, what? We bought seats. And they're like, no, they oversold it. It's like, how can that be? And it's like, yes, I know. Somehow they do that. They're betting that people won't show up, so the plane will still be full. And I was like, that's kind of what's happening here. Because I told them that people have done GameStop more than the shares that actually exist. Like, how does that happen? I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell him this.
Gross.
I'll tell him to watch this. He'll get it with Skate Man.
It might make more sense. I don't know. I've been putting it together. I've been studying this stuff for a long, long time, and I still don't understand it. It's a mystery. But what I do understand, Larry, I understand one thing: comics, man, and I understand your time is valuable, and so I appreciate you coming in here.
Oh, Dan, you know I
about comics.
I love talking to you. You know that. It just made me
It
think.
was
Do you
awesome.
know the retailer Steve Higgins in Waltham, Mass? It's got
Yes.
yeah. I think he does that skate man thing. I think he does that with Hansi, the girl who loved the swastika.
Well, Outer
Do you
Limits.
know that-
Outer Limits. Steve Higgins
Outer
of Outer
Limits.
Limits.
Yeah,
Yes.
Moody Street in Waltham, Mass. Hey, did you see what was Knives Out? Did you see that? The movie, the Ryan Johnson movie? Half that movie shot in front of his store. Pretty funny.
All right. Oh, man. Okay. Comments from the Peanut Gallery. I thought I understood, but Dan just made me dumber. Sorry. Sometimes that happens. That's one of the side effects of watching this show.
That's
all right. We got a few comments here, and then we got to get out of here, Larry. Hi from Vancouver, Canada. Hey,
Alan Mack. He owes me money. No, he doesn't.
6 panels per page. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I agree. That might be talking about the comic strip thing in
yes.
Heroineburgh. I agree. I don't know 6 panels only, right? But I as a rule, I think you can't go wrong with that as a rule that you go around. 4 panels, 9 panels, whatever.
I think 9.
Yeah. Well,
9 guy, but
you
got to
be Dave Gibbons.
6 is
You got to be Dave Gibbons good to pull off 9.
You do.
But
you do.
But anyway.
Hey, you want art tips?
Yeah, you want the art tips.
Just a tip. Really cool. Need to check out Cloven.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Great work, guys. This is awesome. Amazing. Yes, you did miss the Heroineburgh talk, but you can always go back and check it out.
It was all love.
All right, that's it for the comments today. Thank you. We still got 10 people watching, Larry. I'll get you out of here. I got to do the closing comments and stuff.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
If
you got time, stick around. If not, I understand. I'll see you soon. See you, buddy. Okay, everybody. Hey, that was another $1 Million Mailbox. Did you enjoy it? I hope you did. I really did. It's getting to be one of my favorite things. Sometimes I get sick of just talking about, the nonsense in the comics world and the problems and the this and that. I just want to talk about comics. That's why I love bringing Larry in here. That's why I love bringing you folks in here, too. And if you have a comic that you want to see Larry and me and whoever look at on the $1 Million Mailbox, where do you send it? Right here. Comic Book News P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. If you're going to put it in there, put the comics in there. I'll take just the comics and I'll review them. But man, if you're smart, you're going to put a little note in there. You're going to put little tchotchkes. If you've got any promotional materials, you're going to put them in there. You're going to put a link to your website so I know where to put them. Check the links in the description down below for links to all the creators today that I could find. And please support them with your dollars, your attention, and maybe even reaching out to them and telling them what a great job you think they did on their comics. Speaking of which, leave a comment down below. Hit like, hit don't like if you don't like it. I don't care. Just give me a comment. Give me a reason. Give me some feedback. Thank you for watching. Who have we got next time? Pretty cool. Ken Quattro. We're going to talk to Ken Quattro. He wrote a book called Invisible Men, the Trailblazing Black Artists of Comic Books. Reached out to Ken. I got the book. I haven't read it yet. I got a week to read it. So I'm going to go get on that while you watch the closing credits. And please don't forget to stick around till the end of the closing credits because as usual, we have something or other as a closing cameo and we're going to play it and we're going to see you. And when we're going to see you, it's going to be next time.
I'm Chiquita Banana, and I've come to say bananas have to ripen in a certain way. And when they're flecked with brown and have a golden hue, bananas taste the best and are the best for you. You can put them in a salad. No, not yet, my dear. That greenish way you're looking means that you are ripe for cooking.
How about me?
No, no. When you are fully ripe, my dear, those little flecks of brown appear.
Me?
You're most digestible, my friend. Delicious, too, from end to end. You can put them in a pie, any way you want to eat them. It's impossible to beat them. But bananas like the climate of the very, very tropical equator. So you should never put bananas in the refrigerator. Bananas are a solid food that doctors now include in baby's diet. And since they are so good for baby, I think we all should try it. Oh! See.